GU Realm. Xiao Yang's heart tightened when he saw the change of Jinsha's expression. It seemed that he was aware of some information that was related to the GU clan. Little friend Xiao Yang, why have you suddenly mentioned the GU clan? Don't tell me that you have a conflict with them? Jinsha also gradually recovered a moment later and spoke with some worry. This GU clan was not the Wind Lightning Pavilion. Xiao Yang might still be able to live happily even after offending the Wind Lightning Pavilion. However, if he were to form an enmity with this mysterious GU clan, the result... Xiao Yang shook his head and smiled as he said, I have never met this GU clan. How could there be any conflict? It is just that I wish to know some information related to this GU clan. Is it possible for Elder Jinsha to tell me about them? Jinsha sighed in relief. He wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead as he said, it is best if this is the case. Throughout the Central Plains region, the Humans Hall of Souls, and Pill Hall, or the three great ancient families in the magical beast world, fear this GU clan. Xiao Yang also felt slightly startled when he heard this. Although he was able to guess that Zana's background was not weak, he did not expect that the so-called GU clan was actually this strong. Why is it that I have never heard of this GU clan? Moreover, this clan has never appeared among the humans nor magical beast factions. Could it be that they do not belong to either one? Xiao Yang asked uncertainly. Strictly speaking, this GU clan could be considered human. However, they are descendants from the ancient times. It is rumored that they possess the bloodline of a Dou-Di. Jinsha slowly explained. The bloodline of a Dou-Di? Xiao Yang was stunned. It is rumored that if a person is able to reach the Dou-Di class, their bloodline will undergo a change. His descendants will benefit as a result. There were quite a number of Dou-Di clans in the ancient times. Although they could be considered humans, they possessed a rich talent when it came to training. Some of those who were lucky might even inherit some Dou-Di's abilities through their bloodline. However, such a thing is extremely rare and will completely depend on one's luck. Jinsha nodded. His tone contained a respect that was difficult to hide when he mentioned the words Dou-Di. This was a respect for the strongest people in the world. These clans that possess an ancient Dou-Di bloodline greatly discriminate against outsiders. Due to them needing to maintain the purity of their bloodline, even if they were to marry an ordinary human, they would definitely choose an extremely outstanding person. There were quite a number of clans in the ancient times who possessed the bloodline of a Dou-Di. However, with the flow of time, it seems that hardly any remained. The survivors are called the extremely mysterious GU clan. The GU clan doesn't care much for the ranking on the continent, but its strength is without doubt. There are many experts in the clan, and speaking truthfully, there are very few factions in the continent that can contend against it. Xiao Yang nodded his head. It was no wonder that Zun told him that he had to wait until he was a Dozone before he could go and try to find her. So the GU clan was actually this scary. Thinking of the strength of the Hall of Souls, even they were afraid of the GU clan. How terrifying was the strength of this GU clan? Then does Elder Jinsha know where the headquarters of the GU clan is? Xiao Yang paused before asking. The eastern region of the Central Plains basically belongs to the GU clan. Oh. There are then a few of them, the many various fractions, there are all vassals of the GU clan. However, the GU clan seldom manages them. Usually, most of the people of the GU clan all live in the GU realm. Jinsha continued to explain. GU realm? Xiao Yang was once again startled when he heard these unfamiliar words. Any experts who reach the Dou-Shen class are basically standing on the peak of the Dou-Qi continent. At this level, one would have already surpassed the ordinary and would have stepped into the holy level. The strength that one would possess would naturally be far from what an ordinary person can imagine. Opening a realm where people could live is an indicator of an elite Dou-Shen. Jinsha sighed. His voice contained extreme envy. This Jiyu realm is built from the extremely strong Do Shungs of the Jiyu clan over the generations. After a countless number of years of strengthening and expanding, its size could at the very least be comparable to the northern region of the Central Plains, even if it cannot be compared with the entire Central Plains region. That place is uniquely owned by the people of the Jiyu clan. Hence, the ordinary people from the Central Plains do not really understand it. Xiao Yang gently inhaled a breath of cold air. Opening a realm. Was such a frightening thing really something that a person's strength could achieve? An elite Do Sheng was so powerful it ended up making one feel disbelief. Xiao Yang felt himself tremble when he thought of the frightening strength that could tear space apart with just the lift of a hand. This was already the case for an elite Do Sheng. Then just how terrifying was the even stronger Do Di? By comparing the two, the mysterious ability of an elite Do Di being able to change their bloodline mentioned by Jinsha did not appear to be some cooked-up story. Even I am not certain on how one enters this Jiyu realm. If not for the many members of my gold-swallowing mouse tribe, it is likely that I would be far from qualified to be aware of so many secrets given my strength. Jinsha shook his head and spoke somewhat regretfully. Xiao Yang nodded. He was also satisfied by learning so much information related to the Jiyu clan. Although the Jiyu clan's strength was extremely great, he would definitely break into that place for Zun even if it was extremely dangerous. Although Xiao Yang was uncertain how many experts were within the Jiyu clan, it was likely that there would not be any less than that of the Hall of Souls. Xiao Yang's strength was insufficient even though he had currently broken through to the Dozone class. However, this did not become an obstruction to Xiao Yang. Once I rescue Yao Lao, I will head to that Jiyu clan. Regardless of how special you are ultimately humans. Xiao Yang clenched his teeth and spoke viciously in his heart. He did not feel any fear just because of the great strength behind the Jiyu clan. Zun had waited for him for so many years. Regardless of the situation, he needed to make a trip there. Otherwise, he was heartless. Looks like I should quickly expel the fire poison in Jinsha. The 4-pavilion grand meeting that Mu Qingluan had mentioned is about to begin. If I miss it, I don't know just when it will be before I can find Feng Zunjia. Jin Jiyu efficiency had somewhat exceeded Xiao Yang's expectation. Before noontime, all the things that Xiao Yang needed were delivered into his hands. A fog floated within a rock house on the slopes of a mountain. The fog contained waves of dense medicinal fragrance and a transpiring heat. There was a large wooden basin within the rock house. Jinsha was seated within the wooden basin, and boiling water covered his body up to his neck. He was unable to use Do Qi to block the temperature. Hence, Jinsha's face was filled with perspiration. During the next few days, Xiao Yang would spend nearly 10 hours to help Jinsha expel the Heaven Mountain fire poison within Jinsha's body on a daily basis. Under his effort to expel the poison, Jinsha's spirit was getting better every day. Hence, his attitude to Xiao Yang gradually changed from the treatment of someone equal to the current courteous and respectful one. Although Xiao Yang had just broken through to the Dozone class not long ago, his other status as an alchemist was sufficient to cause a person at Jinsha's level to treat him politely. After all, everyone knew what a lucky thing it was to be able to befriend a high-tier alchemist. Xiao Yang's remaining effort during these couple of days was spent on the demon poison spot within his body. Every day that this time bomb-like thing, which had pestered him for a few years, was not removed, it would stay a thorn within his heart that would cause him to always feel a little uncomfortable. Through his study during this period of time, Xiao Yang had also gained a much deeper understanding of the demon poison spot. However, he did not recklessly do anything. This demon poison spot was extremely frightening. If the little fairy doctor had not placed a seal on it back then, it was likely that it would have long since erupted. Xiao Yang might have already broken through to the Dozone class, but it was best if he did not take the initiative to remove the seal. It would not be too late for him to act when he had more confidence. A fire was burning fiercely within the wooden basin of a rock house permeated by hot air. Only the middle spot of the house was void of hot air. That place was where Jinsha's head was protruding from the medicinal water. At this moment, Jinsha appeared extremely energetic. Both his aura and his liveliness were far from what his previous sickler self could compare with. Clearly, the expelling of the poison by Xiao Yang during this period of time was quite effective. The fog permeated the place for a long time before it slowly thinned. The medicinal water within the wooden basin had also become clear. The medicinal liquid within it had already entered Jinsha's body. Xiao Yang waved his hand and returned the glazed lotus heart flame to his body. He also sighed in relief. It was fortunate that he had currently reached the Dozone class. Otherwise, with his previous strength, it would have been difficult for him to perform such a long period of poison expelling in such a relaxed manner. Jinsha leaped out of the wooden basin after having put on his clothes. He sensed the life force that seeped out of his body and a joy surfaced on his old face. He cupped his hands and solemnly said to Xiao Yang, "Little brother Xiao Yang, a simple thanks does not do such a big favor justice. The old me shall remember this." Xiao Yang grinned. He took out 2 jade bottles from his storage ring and handed them to Jinsha. He uttered, "I will leave tomorrow. This is the medicinal liquid and medicinal pill needed to expel the poison. Most of the fire poison within your body has already been expelled. Hence, there is no longer a need for me to use that heavenly flame as a catalyst. You should have already learned the poison expelling method during this period of time. Hence, I shall not say anything more about it. If you follow the method, the fire poison in your body will be completely removed within 2 to 3 months. You are leaving tomorrow?" Jinsha was startled upon hearing this. He hurriedly confirmed what had been said. Xiao Yang nodded. The so-called Four Pavilion's grand meeting was likely to begin. If he wished to find Feng Zunja, he could only head to the Wind Lightning Pavilion. Otherwise, those elite Dozuns were also elusive. He did not know just when he would be able to find the other party again. Due to the Hall of Souls, Xiao Yang was unable to openly speak about the matter. He could only quietly search by himself. Jinsha could only nod his head when he saw Xiao Yang's insistence. He received the 2 jade bottle and said in a deep voice, "Little brother Xiao Yang, if you meet with any trouble in the future, you can come and find me in the Heaven Eye Mountain range. Even that old fellow Fei Qian would not dare to do anything to you in this place." Xiao Yang smiled. Although Jinsha was a magical beast, he valued relationships. The strength of the gold-swallowing mouse tribe was weak when compared to the Wind Lightning Pavilion. However, he was still able to say such words. From the looks of it, he was a worthy person to befriend. In that case, I shall thank Elder Jinsha first. Xiao Yang was seated cross-legged on a bed within a room that was filled with a gentle light. His upper body was naked. There was a dark black ink-like spot on his chest, which was vaguely emitting a stench. Surrounding the black spot were some unusual symbols. They wrapped around the countless number of black lines spreading from the black spot. These symbols were the seal that little fairy doctor had placed on him. However, the symbols had become a lot paler after the erosion of the demon poison spot during these few years. It seemed that it would not be able to hold out for long. Xiao Yang's eyes paused on the black spot. There were 2 methods if one wished to remove this demon poison spot. One was to find a Dozun class expert to help him, while the other was to find another heavenly flame. After the 3 kinds of heavenly flames merged, it would be an easy matter to refine this demon poison spot. Unfortunately, the current Xiao Yang did not meet either of the requirements. Although he had not met both conditions, Xiao Yang vaguely sensed that his current self was no longer as helpless against this demon poison spot as he was back then. His breakthrough this time around was a great benefit to him. Xiao Yang frowned and thought deeply for a while. After which, he suddenly clenched his teeth. A thought passed through his mind and the jade-green flame swiftly moved within his body. It quickly gathered at his chest and surrounded the demon poison spot. Looking at the pale seal, it was obvious that it would not be able to endure for long. Hence, Xiao Yang must quickly settle this demon poison spot. Although it was somewhat difficult for him to refine the demon poison spot in one go with his current strength, he could choose to do it over a prolonged period, gradually refining it. Hence, he could reduce the pressure felt by the seal. After having made up his mind, Xiao Yang's mind controlled a thread of flame that sprang out. It came to the demon poison spot and coiled around it. After which, it suddenly pounced forward. The flame collided with the circular symbol seal. Its high temperature immediately caused the seal to emit a white smoke and kai sound. Following the erosion of the heavenly flame, the complete seal gradually began to break open, forming a small gap in the process. Xiao Yang controlled the flame perfectly. The small gap was insufficient to cause the demon poison spot to erupt, but it was also able to drag a small portion out. The crack had just been formed when the demon poison spot within it, which had been quiet for many years, suddenly began to surge. The black cluster wiggled and a thumb-sized, black line separated from the body before rushing to the gap. Xiao Yang's mind tensed up when he saw that black line shoot out. The jade-green flame around the seal became turbulent, like a sea of fire, as it surrounded the area around his chest until nothing could seep out. The black line successfully penetrated through the gap and a dense wave of fishy stench spread out. This fishy stench contained an extremely corrosive strength. However, it was fortunate that Xiao Yang had the protection of the heavenly flame. The moment these fishy stench appeared, it immediately emitted a kai sound and swiftly turned into nothing. A coldness also flashed through Xiao Yang's eyes as he looked at the dark black, somewhat sinister line. If he had yet to break through to the Do Zone class at this moment, it was likely that this demon poison spot black line would have turned his body into a complete mess. Fortunately, the current him had truly reached the Do Zone class. A thought passed through Xiao Yang's mind and the jade-green sea of flames around his chest immediately transformed into numerous fire dragons. These dragons were accompanied by a low, deep roar as they surged toward the black line. The demon poison spot black string seemed to display an uneasiness when it faced such a large-scale encirclement by the glazed lotus heart flame. With the growth of Xiao Yang's strength, the power of this glazed lotus heart flame had also soared. Back then, just refining a tiny demon poison spot black line had exhausted a long period of time. If Xiao Yang were to do it again at this moment, he had the confidence that the refinement speed would decrease by at least 10 times the amount of time it took before. While the thread of the demon poison spot was feeling uncertain, the fire dragon instantly arrived. The flames swept over and surrounded the black line. After which, the flames twisted together, transforming into a cluster of fierce green flame that wrapped the black line and swiftly began to refine it. Faced with the refinement of the glazed lotus heart flame, the demon poison spot black line also began to resist. Waves of corrosive fog unceasingly surged into his body. After which, the fog collided with the surrounding flames. Kai! The black fog collided onto the flame and a kai sound immediately erupted. The current glazed lotus heart flame might have difficulty completely refining the demon poison spot, but it did not have a problem refining this small portion of it. Under the control of Xiao Yang's mind, the heavenly flame swiftly shrank. A kai sound once again appeared. Immediately, one could see the demon poison spot black line swiftly paling. Within an hour or so, the black-colored poison within it was completely refined by the glazed lotus heart flame. After the poison within was removed, an extremely pure, substance-like Do Qi appeared in front of Xiao Yang's mind. This cluster of Do Qi did not possess the slightest consciousness. It simply remained within the flame without moving. A satisfied expression surfaced on Xiao Yang's face when he sensed the purity of this Do Qi. This demon poison spot might be dangerous, but it could be considered a great tonic. If he completely refined it, Xiao Yang estimated that his strength could at least leap to the level of a 3-star Do Zone. Danger and reward indeed coexisted in everything in this world. Xiao Yang's mind controlled this wave of Do Qi and directed it along the route of the flame mantra, immediately making it his own. Xiao Yang's heart laughed when he sensed the tiny increase of strength and Do Qi within his body. His mind once again reached into the demon poison spot. After which, he continued to drag a small amount of demon poison spot poison from it. Although he could not refine the demon poison spot in one go, all he needed to do was to remove a little of it to refine each time. Over time, this demon poison spot would naturally collapse because it lacked Do Qi. At that time, the time bomb in his body would also automatically disappear. The effect of this thing is something that even some tier 7 medicinal pills cannot compare with. That old fellow Xue Bai Yang has really given me a great gift. Chapter 10:16, Title: Wind Lightning Mountain Range. Collapse. Xiao Yang continued to dragging poison out of the demon poison spot and used the glazed lotus heart flame to refine it throughout the night. Only when the sky gradually became bright did he, who was still in a rock house, slowly open his eyes. An entire night's refinement did not cause Xiao Yang to feel the least bit tired. Instead, due to the replenishment of the enormous amount of Do Qi, his condition was perfectly at his peak. A faint glow was flickering while he blinked. This was due to the great surge of Do Qi in his body that was difficult to hide. Xiao Yang lowered his head and looked at the demon poison spot on his chest. At the moment, its size had clearly shrunk a little. Xiao Yang shook his head with some dissatisfaction when he saw this. He had at least removed 10 bundles of poison during the night. It was unexpected that this amount was such a small portion when compared to the demon poison spot as a whole. After having absorbed all the Do Qi within the 10 clusters of poison, Xiao Yang could vaguely feel that his strength had improved. Although this feeling was not very obvious, it was considered quite incredible. After all, each star within the Do Zone class required an extremely great amount of energy. If Xiao Yang were to train in an orthodox fashion, it was likely that he would require nearly 3 to 4 months in order to reach this stage even with his speed, yet he was able to reach it in one night. This effectiveness was already quite great. There was a massive gap between every star within the Do Zone class. Hence, the classification within the expert Do Zones were a little more detailed in the central planes. Every star was divided into 4 levels. They were entry, intermediate, advance, and peak. However, such differentiation was too subtle. Hence, very few people would measure another in such a manner. However, it was quite useful when using it to measure one's own strength. According to Xiao Yang's guess, he should be currently at the intermediate level after having absorbed the Do Qi within the demon poison spot. It is indeed very difficult to raise one's level in the Do Zone class. No wonder First Elder's level did not experience a great increase despite having trained for so many years. Xiao Yang sighed softly in his heart. He took out his clothes and put them back on. Currently, the Do Qi in his body had reached saturation and needed a period of time of adaptation before he could once again absorb Do Qi from the demon poison spot. Fortunately, with his current strength, the demon poison spot no longer posed a fatal threat to him. Instead, this thing was treated as a movable Do Qi warehouse by Xiao Yang. Looks like it is time to leave. The 4 Pavilion Grand Meeting is about to be held in a few days. Xiao Yang leaped down from the bed. He mused for a moment before packing his things properly. After which, he did not stay any longer. He pushed open the door and simply walked out. When Xiao Yang walked out of the room, the gold-swallowing mice guard standing by the side hurriedly bowed to Xiao Yang. He waved his hand and without saying anything, stepped onto the empty air, and appeared to be walking on the stairs leading to heaven as ascended into the sky in front of the envious eyes of those few guards. Xiao Yang overlooked the Heaven Eye Mountain as he stood in the sky. He involuntarily smiled and walked forward. This was something that he had dreamed of. It was unexpected that he was able to fulfill it now. Two figures hurried over when Xiao Yang rose into the air. "Little brother Xiao Yang, are you going to leave now?" Jinsha appeared. He looked at Xiao Yang and hurriedly asked. Xiao Yang nodded and laughed. "I still have some matters to attend to and cannot remain here for long. Thank you both for your great hospitality. If I have time in the future, I will come and visit." Jinsha and Jin Jiyu could not say any other words to get Xiao Yang to stay after they heard this. They immediately replied in deep voices, "Little brother Xiao Yang, the gold-swallowing mouse tribe owes you a big favor. If you meet any trouble in the future, please do not forget about us old fellows." Xiao Yang titled his head. The gold-swallowing mouse faction a large population and remained up to date with the news in the Central Plains region. It was naturally a good thing to befriend them. "Cuckoo, looking at your anxious face, the two of us shall not hold you back any longer. We will pray for your journey to be smooth." Jin Jiyu smiled, cupped his hands, and spoke. "In that case, I shall borrow Elder Jingu's blessing. Goodbye." Xiao Yang smiled. He cupped his hands to the two of them and did not stay any longer. His body moved and transformed into a light figure, which rushed out of the Heaven Eye mountain range with a swoosh sound. Within a couple of blinks, he had already disappeared from Jinsha's and Jingu's sight. With Xiao Yang's speed, he had already exited the region of the Heaven Eye mountain range within 10+ minutes. Originally, with his current strength, his speed would have been a little faster if he used the bone wings. However, the words of the Grey Wolf King were firmly etched in his heart. Although he had currently advanced to the Dozone class, this strength was really insignificant when compared to the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. Hence, unless it was a critical moment, it was best that he used the bone wings as little as possible in the future. Xiao Yang's figure stopped on a mountain peak outside of the Heaven Eye mountain range. He took a map of the northern region from his space ring. The map he had purchased in Bone Transforming City back then. After which, he began to search for something on it. According to what Mu Qingluan had mentioned, the 4-pavilion grand meeting this time around would be held at the headquarters of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, which was the Eastern Pavilion. Based on the map, the position of the Eastern Pavilion should be near the border between the northern and middle region of the Central Plains. It is so far away. Looks like I will need about 5 days just to travel there. Xiao Yang bitterly laughed after putting the map back into his storage ring. It was fortunate that had reached the level of a Dozone. Otherwise, it was likely that he would not have been able to hurry to the Eastern Pavilion without 10 days to half a month's time. At that time, it was likely that the gathering would have ended. Looks like I should travel quickly. Otherwise, it will be unlucky if I miss it. Xiao Yang sighed as he faced the eastern sky. A bright silver glow slowly surfaced on his feet. Immediately, muffled thunder sounded. His body disappeared in a ghost-like manner. The name of the Wind Lightning Eastern Pavilion held a heavy weight throughout the Central Plains region. Being the headquarters of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, this place was filled with many experts. Its defenses were also extremely solid. During the years since the Wind Lightning Pavilion had been founded, it had experienced quite a number of tribulations. However, the Eastern Pavilion had always remained standing. Its reputation had gradually formed from many fights between factions. Only after all that did it gain its current status. The 4-pavilion grand meeting, as the name suggested, was naturally conducted by the 4 pavilions in the Central Plains. Although the main characters were the 4 pavilions, each season of the 4-pavilion grand meeting would be a grand event within the Central Plains region. Although it could not be put in the same category as the Pill Gathering of the Pill Tower, it was also a rare event. This 4-pavilion grand meeting was not a competition between the experts of the older generations. Instead, it was a competition for the younger generation. Of course, the younger generation, who could represent the 4 pavilions, were naturally the most outstanding people among the younger generation of each party. New blood was the most important thing if each faction wanted to survive. Hence, the four pavilions paid great attention to the younger generation. Under their great focus on grooming the younger generation, it was natural that quite a number of outstanding individuals had appeared among them: the Wind Lightning Pavilion's Feng Qing'er, the 10,000 Sword Pavilion's Tang Ying, the Yellow Spring Pavilion's Wang Chen, the Falling Star Pavilion's Mu Qingluan, etc. All of these people possess some reputation across the entire Central Plains region. Of course, the Central Plains was one where many outstanding individuals were hidden. No one knew just where Dark Horse would suddenly appear. Even though this was the case, each of the four pavilion grand meeting would attract a countless number of strong young people from many factions. The main characters of this grand meeting were usually the four pavilions, but it did not reject some other competitors. However, in order to increase the quality, it naturally possessed a necessary filter. Moreover, it was rumored to be extremely harsh. This had eliminated some of the people who were there simply to inflate the numbers. After all, among the competitions between the younger generation, the four pavilion grand meeting was considered to be of a superior quality. Even some of the experts from the older generation had difficulty achieving the requirements. The location where the four pavilion grand meeting would be held was usually decided by the party who had won the last season's competition. The victor of the last grand meeting was the Wind Lightning Pavilion, hence, the location this time was decided to be the Wind Lightning Eastern Pavilion. The Wind Lightning Eastern Pavilion was situated in the Wind Lightning mountain range, near the border of the northern region. This place was extremely unique. Perhaps it was because the terrain was too high, but there was always a rumbling thunder sound. The weather was also unpredictable. At first, it may be extremely sunny, but the next moment, a thunderstorm may appear. The entire Wind Lightning mountain range was the territory controlled by the Eastern Pavilion. This place was just like their backyard. Other factions who were not strong did not dare to encroach into this area. The Wind Lightning mountain range during this period of time was unusually lively. A countless number of people came from all over the place and gathered at the Lightning Mountain within the mountain range. This was because above the Lightning Mountain stood the headquarters of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, the Eastern Pavilion. A ray of light bounded across the sky outside of the Wind Lightning mountain range like a falling star. It transformed into a person that landed on the top of a mountain. He lowered his head and looked at the ant-like human flow below only to be stunned. The person who had hurried over was naturally Xiao Yang, who had increased his speed along the way. He had basically gone all out during these few days, and had seldom rested along the way. Even by hurrying in this manner, he had exhausted 4 days in order to reach this place. This area has a very dense wind lightning strength. Xiao Yang gently exhaled. He looked into the distance and saw the mountain range, which was many times larger than the Heaven Eye mountain range. There was a shocking rumbling thunder within this mountain range he could feel despite being a great distance away. The wind lightning strength contained within the mountain range caused his expression to alter. This place should be the Wind Lightning mountain range, where the Wind Lightning Pavilion Eastern Pavilion is located. Looks like I'm not late.